regarded as the founder of Singapore. While working for the British East India Company, he saw the potential of the island as a trading place and landed his ships there in 1819 to proclaim this new British colony. This controversial figure was later recalled to Britain for disregarding government orders and taking independent steps to stop the slave trade. He founded and became the first president of the London Zoological Society. Who is it? Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles. When Raffles landed here, it wasn't called Singapore. The earlier name was Singapura, from which Singapore was derived. Raffles came not as an invader, but as a trader, and since that time, Singapore has remained one of the world's major trading ports. Every day, hundreds of trading ships fill its harbour. Raffles was welcomed in Singapore, and he established his headquarters on the top of the Forbidden Hill, from the top of which he could look out over Singapore Harbour and check on the arrival and departure of the various trading ships. Now, none of that would have been possible had not Raffles signed a treaty with the Malays who were living here before he arrived. And to them, this place was the Forbidden Hill. Forbidden because their kings and princes were buried here, and for them it was a sacred and a haunted place. Well, there's only one grave that you can see here now, that one over there, and no one's even really sure who's buried there. It may be the founder of Temasek, the fishing village that was here before Singapura was founded, or it may indeed be the last Malay ruler of Singapura. At any event, it's now a sacred shrine. And the ground here has the graves of the old Malay rulers. But they're not the only ones to be buried on this hill. As the shipping trade with Singapura developed, the British came out and settled here. Of course, many of them died, and they're buried here today in what became their corner of the hill, the English graveyard. Well, it wasn't only the settlers buried here, many of them were the boatmen that came out on the ships. And if you read the inscriptions on these graves, often they say things like Master Mariner and Seaman. And that's not all that surprising. The hill, in fact, has had many uses since those times. It's a reservoir today, and in the early days, just over there, it was Singapura's first botanic gardens, established by Raffles himself. The gardens have now moved, but still some of those trees are Raffles' original botanic garden trees. And in 1861, the British built a fort here. Well, if it's as hard as that to get out of here, you can imagine how much harder it was to get in through those main gates of Fort Canning. They're made of huge, great bulks of timber studded with iron. And Fort Canning was built on the top of the Forbidden Hill because it gave a great lookout. And from a flagpole up here, flags could be raised and lowered to signal to the ships in the harbour or to signal to people down in the town about what the ships were doing. Well, this fort fairly bristled with cannon. And they were fired a great deal, but never in wartime. They were fired at 5 in the morning to wake people up, 12 midday to tell them to knock off for lunch, and again at 8 o'clock at night, presumably to tell them to go to bed. Well, of all those cannon, only 2 remain. And here they are, stuck in the ground as gateposts, a most undignified end. Well, if that's all that remains of the cannon, that's about all that remains of the fort. The walls have long since been knocked down. Still, you can go in there today and get into the little alleyways and climb up the staircases inside those thick walls and come out on top to stand where the sentries once stood, looking out over Singapura.